This
Somebody reminded
conference
me to
will
record.
now be recorded.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Okay, so you still need a VueGen. Okay, now you tell me, guys, if you have an LRE, if you have, when you say you have an LRE, what you will have, a URL is given to you by your organization and a username password. Okay, let's say you have an LRE. Do you still need a VueGen installed on your machines? Installed on your machines. Okay, so you can use the chat window. Okay, you can just say Y as yes, N as no. Okay, please tell me, guys. Okay, so the question is, you have an LRE access, which means that your company has given the URL, username, and password. You still need a VueGen installed on your machine, so you don't need it. Okay, yes. Okay, whoever they have said why, that is correct. Yes, you still need VueGen, because using that web version of LRE, you will not be able to, you will not be able to create the scripts. Obviously, I'm not covered this, but I'm asking the question so that the topic is covered. Now, the third component is analyzer. Okay, the third component is analyzer. Okay, so you still need the analyzer to be installed. Okay, we need we need analyzer or analysis. Okay, analysis needs to be installed on your machines. Okay, answer me, guys. You need this analyzer to be installed on your machine. You have access to LRE. Okay, you still need the analysis to be installed on your machine. Okay, so Dipti says no, Sirish says no. Okay, Roy says yes, Rohit says yes, Sinu says yes. So guys, I want to hear from all of you. There are 42 members in the class. I want to hear of them. The answer is yes, you still need it. Okay, you still need a VueGen installed on your machine, analyzer installed on your machine. Okay, if you have a LRE, because you download these results, and once you download the results, you can open it using the analysis, and you can do that analysis further. Okay, if you don't need it, if you don't want to do further analysis, it's okay. The LRE will show it up everything, but it's better you download the results, and using the analysis you can open it up and see them. Okay, but do you need a controller as well? Do we need a controller as well? If you have an access to LRE, do you need the controller as well? Absolutely no, because this is what we are replacing with an LRE. This is what we are replacing with an LRE. Okay, and one more thing, guys, you want your VueGen to be installed. Do you need the license for that? You just want a VueGen, a standalone. While clicking on the LoadRunner installation, it will ask you to, it will ask for a full installation and a standalone installation. You have selected the standalone installation. You have selected a VueGen. Okay, you have you will be able to install it. So the question is, okay, do you need a license to install VueGen? Do we need a license to install VueGen and use it? Okay, no, the answer is yes, absolutely, you don't need the license for VueGen. Okay, and sorry, and do we need the license for analyzer? No, the license is only required for the controller. Okay, similarly, the license is there for LRE. Okay, for these two components there is no license. Okay, if you're going with a load runner, you need the license for controller. If you're going with an LRE, you need the license for LRE. Okay, why they haven't put the license for this? Because with these two components hardly there is anything that you could do. Okay, Un- unless you cannot, without the controller there is no point creating the scripts, and then there is no point having this analyzer or analysis on your machine. Okay, so so that's why the micro focus guys will 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 make these two components licensed. If you're going with load runner, they make this as a license. If you're going with an LRE, they make this as a licensed. Okay, so the point I'm trying to tell you is, for the LRE, you still need a VueGen and analysis to be installed on your machine. But LRE, the actual execution happens, the test execution happens on the LRE, the load runner enterprise. Okay, now, 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 okay, now the next point, guys, watch carefully. Okay, so we will look at the architecture. Okay, architecture of LR to start with, a simple architecture. Then we look at the architecture of load runner enterprise. Again, this class is all theory, guys. The next 1 hour is all theory. I know it will be little boring. please, be with me. Okay, try to understand as much as you could. Sometimes architecture is very tricky to understand. I know that. Okay, so the architecture of LR is hardly anything, because the prerequisite of this class is the load runner, which means that you already have understood or known the architecture of LR. So I'll have a quick review or view on that. But the most important thing is understanding the architecture of load runner enterprise. It is little tricky, guys. Try to understand as much as you could. Okay, there is one or two interview questions in that, so please pay a little bit of attention over there as well. Okay, so again, it's not mandatory, sir. Now the next question is, Kumar sir, if I have to use the LRE, do I really need to understand the architecture of LRE? Absolutely not. But if you know the architecture of LRE, okay, then you will have a better understanding, better grip. And if you go to the interviews, if they ask you any questions, you will be able to answer it better. And even in your team, you will be able to, I mean, if something is going wrong with LRA, and if you know the architecture of it, it is easy to fix it, or easy to think about it as to how to fix it. So that's the only reason. But without understanding the architecture of LRA, you still be able to use it. So these topics are optional in a way. But yes, if you really want to become an expert, it is very imperative to understand this. So having said that, let's get into the architecture part. Okay, if you're talking about load runner, guys, okay, so what you have is a vision. Okay, by the way, are you able to see the screen, guys? All of you, are you able to see the screen? All of you, are you able to see my screen? Yeah, wonderful. Okay, now you see there are three components of for a load runner, any load runner. One is vision, one is controller, and one is analysis. Okay, now let's say you have created two scripts, check mail script and compose mail script. Let's say you are doing the performance testing for some mailing application, like let's say it's a Gmail. Okay, you have and let's say there are only two PCTs. Okay, everybody understands by the word PCT, guys? Everybody understands by the word PCT? PCT, what is a PCT? Somebody can unmute you themselves and answer it. What is a PCT? Anybody can unmute themselves and speak. Okay, if you don't know the answer, don't leave. It's okay not to have the answer. Okay, so PCTs are nothing but performance critical transactions. Okay, okay, so you don't do the performance testing for everything. Okay, we don't do the performance testing. Okay, performance testing for all all test cases, or whatever you want to call it, test cases or transactions or business flows. I don't know in your company what is that they are using. Okay, so we don't do performance testing for all of them. We only select few of them. Okay, for example, if you have an IRCTC, you're doing the performance testing for IRCTC. Okay, booking booking train ticket. Okay, train ticket is PCT, is performance critical transaction. But changing password, changing password, okay, this is not a PCT, which means that, okay, we don't consider this particular scenario or business flow for performance testing. We only consider this for our performance testing. Okay, we only consider this for our performance testing. Okay, so this is what is a PCT. Are we clear with PCTs, guys? Everybody, are we clear with PCTs for now? Okay, simple. We don't do performance testing for all of them. Okay, can we call it as CBT? I don't know. I mean, Surendra, can you please unmute yourself and tell me what is a CBT? Critical business transactions. Okay, you can say that. Okay, critical. If Surendra, you are calling it as CBT. CBT means critical business transactions. Is that what you meant? Probably you can say it, but generally these terms PCT, a lot of people use it. Okay, that's why I use it as well. Okay, but in your company they're calling it as CBTs. Yeah, please, you can call it. But I never heard somebody using a CBT. I've heard a lot of people using PCTs. Okay, so I'll still go ahead and use the word PCT. Okay, but Surendra, if in your company if they are using it CBT, go ahead and use it. Okay, now, okay, so you have two scripts. Okay, now you upload those scripts into controller. Okay, you upload those scripts into controller. And by the way, there are two scripts here. Okay, so in the controller it shows up like this. This is what we call it as group. Okay, so this is one group, this is another group. Let's say you're calling this as a group one. Okay, this is group two. So you have two groups, group one and group two. In group one, the script is checkmail script. In group two, the script is compose mail. Okay, then you can assign the LGs, the load generators. Okay, again, I assume that you already know what is a load generator, if you, because the prerequisite for this course is you have a prior knowledge of LoadRunner. So load generator is the one which gives the virtual users. Without the load generator, you will not be able to uh, get the virtual users. Definitely the load generator is definitely required. If there is another tool called Jmeter or something, let's say there is another cool tool called Jmeter, do you still call LGs over there? I'm just asking, in the Jmeter, do you still call it? So what do you call that, Pujita, over there in Jmeter?
Slave machines.
Slave machines, okay, master and slave. And some people would like to call it as load injectors as well. Okay, load injectors, but I never heard anybody in Jmeter world using load generators. They will say master and slave, as you said, or distribution performance testing, or there's some people I've heard them using load injectors. Anyways, so let's keep that aside. Wonderful. um, Now, so again, simple. Whether you want to call it as a load injector or load generator or slave machine, the purpose of these machines is to give the virtual users. So if you don't have these LG machines, you will not get the virtual users. You will not get the virtual users, so you will not be able to run the test. So definitely you have to give the LG machines. So now the next question is, two different groups can have the same LG. So let's say G1 has LG1 and G2. You can still assign LG2, LG1. LG1, can G2 also have an LG1? In other words, two groups can have the same LG?
Yes.
A- Absolutely yes, as long as that LG has the capability to give those many users. Okay. Now in the group one, you have 600 users you have given. Group two, you have given 400 users. So if LG1 has the capability to give 1000 users, so for the two groups you can put LG1. Okay. For both the groups you can put LG1. But if LG1 has the capability of only supporting only 700 users, okay, then for group 1 you can have LG1. For group 2 you have to have a different LG, here in this case LG2. And how do you know each LG what is the capability? By using something called memory footprint. Memory footprint, again, I'll not be able to cover that because we will be totally deviating from that, but just on the high level, because in the interviews definitely that question will be asked. So how do you know what is the capability of that LG? Like how do you know how many users that LG will give you? It depends on the memory footprint. That is an assignment for you. You can go ahead and do some research on memory footprint. I also created some videos on my channel. Go ahead and refer to it. Okay, because that is a definite interview question. They might not ask you the question as how do you know the maximum capacity of an LG? They might ask you the question that, okay, with how many maximum users you have done the load test. Let's say you have given 1200 users. Then they will ask you how many load generators you have used. If they say two, okay, then they will ask you, how do you know that even before you run the test, how do you know that you needed two LGs? So that is how they ask the questions. Okay, so that is how they ask the question. Okay. So it will be totally based on the memory footprint, guys. So wonderful. So now this is the controller. Okay, now you run the test. Now you see what happens as soon as you click on run button. As soon as you click on run button, what happens? Now the script one has been assigned to LG1, so it will go to that LG. LG is the load generator machine which will give you the virtual users. So the checkmail script will be downloaded to the LG1 machine, and compose mail script will be downloaded to the LG2 machines. And LG1 machine will give you how many users? 600 users. LG2 machine will give you how many users? 400 users. And now now all those transactions, this is your application and the test. This is your application and the test. Now all the requests will be sent to the application and you get the responses. So for both LG1 and LG2, as you get the response, the reports will be created on LG1 and reports will be created on LG2. Okay, reports will be created on LG1, which will be send it back to the controller, and report will be given by generated by LG2, which will be sent back to the controller. And now the controller has to should it combine these results, or it should not combine the results? Okay, the controller should combine both these results, or it should send these results separately. Yes, if they have to combine the results. No, if they have to not to combine the results. I want to hear from all the 54 members, guys. Okay, some of them are saying yes, some of them are saying no. The answer is yes, it has to combine the results. Is there a word for that? Somebody can unmute themselves and ask, is there a word for that?
Yeah, collating result.
Collating the results. Wonderful. Okay, again, there is a word for that, which is what we call it as collating the results. Okay, so it will combine both the results. Okay, it will combine the results and it will collate the results, and that results you can download it to your analysis tool, and you can do further analysis on that collated results. You can do the further analysis on the collated results. This is the simple architecture of the load runner. Okay, the working architecture of load runner. Yes, there could be some mi listeners and all that could be there, but I am purposefully ignoring that, which I will certainly cover that in my next slide, which when I have to talk about the LRE architecture. Okay, mi listener is missing in this, mofw is missing in this, but on the high level everybody understood how the load runner works, guys, or any questions on this? So guys, I want everybody to active. Don't even think that, okay, I'm taking this course for free. Am I supposed to ask this question or not? Okay, why should I be active? I'm not paying. I'll be like, I'll be just listening. Okay, so I don't want that, guys. So it doesn't matter. I want you to be totally active and make the complete utilization of this 1 hour. Okay, the best utilization of this 1 hour. Okay, all the 51 members. Any questions you might have related to the topics that I'm covering, I'm more than happy to clear all that. If I don't know, I'll come back. Okay, and on that front, when I said I'm deviating a little bit here, yesterday somebody asked a question with the loaded runner. Okay, with the LRE, this question was asked to me. Okay, this question was asked me with LRE. Okay, can we do IP spoofing? Okay, can we do IP spoofing? Okay, who asked this question, guys? Who asked this question? Today they are attending the class. Again, I'm repeating, guys. There was a question which was posted to me yesterday. Okay, what was that question? With LRE, can IP spoofing be done? Okay, so is that participant there in the class? If so, please unmute yourself. Okay, Krishna has asked this question. Krishna, please unmute yourself, brother. Okay, now we are deviating a little bit. Okay, my sincere apologies for that. Okay, but I will clear this question to Krishna. And again, I am showing you something, okay, which you might get overwhelmed. Don't worry about it. Again, I will cover all this certainly. Okay, so Krishna, can you please unmute yourself, brother? Are you there? You have your speaker's mic on, Krishna? Okay, I hope you're listening to this question. So I've created this scenario. I've created this scenario called load test scenario. Okay, now Krishna, you watch here. Test options. If you go to the test options, okay, looks like my server is little slow, brother. The load runner server. Okay, can you see this? Can you see this, Krishna? Enable IP spoofer. Okay, you have to set. Okay, so you have to enable the IP spoofer. Okay, so with this you can do this enabling of IP spoofing. Okay, but for this to happen, you have to set up the IP spoofing at the backend, which an LRE admin or the LRE administration team or installation team will set it up. But from your end as an end user, you just have to do the enable spoofer. Okay, so that the IP spoofing will happen. IP spoofing will happen. More about it I will cover when we discuss about what do you say, when we discuss about the LRE, when we start creating the scenarios and all that. Okay, so Krishna, have I answered your question? Okay, did you see that, Krishna? That IP spoofing option. So Krishna has left. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so you have any more questions on the IP spoofing and all that? Let me know, brother. We will work on that. But setting up, it's very a very tedious job, and you need a networking expert. Okay, and even in the real world, I don't think you would be doing it as, or you're not expected to set up the IP spoofing, but you're expected to use the IP spoofing. For IP spoofing, all you have to do is just enable this option. Okay, go to that scenario. In the scenario, there are test options, and just enable that IP spoofer. Okay, enable IP spoofing. So if you enable the IP spoofing, okay, you can start using it. You can start using it. That's what is the expectations from your end, not to set up the IP spoofing itself. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Now the major important thing, the main important thing is LoadRunner enterprise architecture. Okay, again, this is little tricky to understand, guys. Okay, don't try to understand 100%. If you are able to understand 100%, wonderful. Okay, but if you're not able to understand 100% also, it is fine. And if you're not at all able to understand anything also, it's fine. Okay, for using the LRE, understanding the architecture is not mandatory. Okay, not mandatory. हिंदी में एक कहावत है ना, um, um, अंडा खाने के लिए लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है. So basically, like, you wanted to use the LRE, so you really need not have to understand the architecture, but it is good to understand the architecture. So let's get started, guys. Everybody ready to start looking at the LRE architecture? And before that, guys, how many have used the LRE in the class? I wanted to understand how many of you have used the LoadRunner Enterprise earlier. How many of you used? Just say used. You can say you. You means you have used. There is. Okay. Chaitra has used. Okay. Wonderful. Deepti has used it. Deepti, yesterday we spoke about it. Wonderful. Okay. Yeah. So Chaitra and Deepti, you might be able to understand this architecture better. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Let's go ahead. This is the LRE client. This person is the LRE client, which means that now I'm using the LRE here. Okay, you see, um, sorry, this is not the window. Okay, so you see I'm using the LRE. Okay, I'm using the LRE here. Okay, so I am the LRE client. I am the LRE client. So in this picture, so this is the LRE client. Okay, so this person, now in this case my desktop is the LRE. In my case, I am using it. I am the LRE client. If you are using it, you are the LRE client. Typically, okay, the load runner, and then this is your LRE, guys. This is your LRE installation, this one. Okay, if you look at it, this is your LRE installation. Okay, so this is your LRE installation, and this will be inside the firewall of the company. Typically it is installed in companies, which means that there will be a firewall. For me, there is no firewall. I have installed in my institute, and then there is no firewall. But typically, if it is an organized company, okay, this is the outside world from which you will be using it, and this will be all the installation happens inside the company network, which means that there will be a firewall. There will be a firewall. What is the use of the firewall? It will restrict all the malicious, requests, and it will stop all the unwanted requests and all the viruses and all that. You want to restrict it, not anybody to just anybody to come and start using it. Okay, so that is the one. Okay, now you see. Okay, let's look at the important components of this load runner enterprise, guys. The first one is LRE server. Okay, the first one is LRE servers. Okay, the second one is LRE host. The third one is LRE load generators. Okay, in the controller also, I mean in the load runner also, you have the LGs, which we have already discussed. Okay, but here, okay, here also you have load generators, obviously. Okay, but what extra you have? Load runner host and load runner server and DB server and file repository. Okay, I'll tell you the purpose of each one of them very carefully. And for now, ignore this part. For now, ignore this part. I'll cover this later. But for now, keep this away and also ignore this part. Okay, also ignore this part. Okay, so I'll cover that later. Okay, now, okay, this LRE servers is very important because a web-based application is created. Obviously, you need a web app server at the back end, so you can assume this as a web app server. Okay, because any web-based application at the back end, you have a web app server, so you can assume this LRE servers as a web app server. In the controller, you will not have it because the controller need not have to create a web web application, or it need not have to give access to the end user via browser. So you want a web application, so obviously you need a web app server. So you can assume this LRE servers as a web web app server. Okay, so and again, any three-tier architecture would have a database as well, so you have a database. Okay, are we clear so far, guys? If you know architectures, whatever I've told you will make sense to you guys. Okay, so are we clear, guys, all of you, so far? So far, or are you overwhelmed? Where are you guys? Where are you? This is the one. Okay, is it clear so far, guys? Okay, so any web application, you will have a web app server and a database. So here also, this web app, you are able to access the application via web. You are able to access the application via web. Okay, so obviously there should be a database server and a web app server, and that's what you're seeing it here. That's what you're seeing it here. Okay, so for having and for the load runner to be accessed on the web, you need a web app server, and that's what this one, and they are calling it as a LRE servers. And basically, you upload the scripts needs to be stored, and you run the test, and the results needs to be stored. Okay, lot of things needs to be stored on this LRE. Okay, like you run the test, and the results needs to be there. Okay, so it will be used either file repository, or the repository, or the database servers for that. So there is a lot of data that you upload the scripts, and run the test, and the results will be there, and so many things will be happening. So for that, you need a DB server. So here you have two things: one is DB server, and one is file repository. Okay, and you can see here, okay, Oracle SQL Server and PostgreSQL, okay, server, any one of them can be used. Okay, looks like, I don't know, I haven't installed it, I didn't go much into it, but looks like you cannot have three servers, so I'm assuming that only one of the server is needed. So basically you can use any one of them. I remember for my institute, okay, SQL Server is been installed. SQL Server has been installed on the institute LRE machines. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so wonderful. Now the LRE host is nothing but your controller, guys. Okay, the LRE host is nothing but your controller. Your controller. Okay, your controller. Okay, so your controller. Okay, and the load generators are nothing but your LGs. LGs. So what will LGs gives you, brother? What will LGs give you? Okay, why do we need LGs? Why do we need LGs? Why do we need LGs? And people are leaving, is it because they are not able to understand? I'm just trying to understand. If somebody is about to leave, please answer this simple question. I see a lot of people leaving. Okay, I- are you not able to understand it, that's why you're leaving? Or you know already and then you're leaving it? Or this looks very basics to you and you're leaving it? Just trying to understand if somebody is leaving. If you're about to leave, obviously you made up your mind to leave, so please give that answer and leave, in case if somebody is leaving, because I see a lot of people are leaving. So just trying to understand. Okay, this is sounding too basic to you and you're leaving, or this is sounding too difficult and you're leaving? Okay, nobody's answering, fine. So LGs, obviously you need the virtual users, you need the LGs. Okay, you need the LGs. Okay, controller, you have to design the scenario. You have to design the scenario. Okay, like you have to have multiple groups, you have to upload the scripts, you have to assign the LGs, you have to assign the number of virtual users and all that. So that's why you need the controllers. Okay, and LRE, because the web app application is given to LRE client, so you need a LRE server. And there are database, obviously all the scripts and results needs to be stored, so you have a DB server and file repository. Okay, file repository. Okay, any questions so far, guys? Any questions before I go further? Because very tricky to understand this. Okay, so any questions? So 50 people are there, don't hesitate to ask the question, even though however silly it is. Please go ahead and ask that question. If it is like too silly, I'll take that question after the class. Okay, so Pradeep Kaur has left. Okay, so no questions. So Chaitra, Raghu, no, clear. Okay, so Raghu. So Raghu, is this Raghunandan ready? Raghu, is it Raghunandan ready?
No, only Raghu.
Only Raghu. Okay, I have a very dear student of mine. His name is Raghunandan Reddy. I call him Raghu. Anyways, okay, clear, wonderful. Okay, now, okay, now from the LRE client, you have invoked the the LRE. Okay, you have invoked that LRE from here. Obviously, the request goes to the LRE servers. LRE server says, "Oh, you want the LRE request?" Obviously, it will send back the request. Okay, but for the controller, when you create a new test set, it will integrate. It needs a controller, so it needs to coordinate with the controller. And when you assign the LGs, obviously the LGs needs to be there, so it will coordinate with the LGs. Okay, and then whenever you upload the scripts and download the scripts, it needs to be stored, so it uses the file repository as well as the DB servers. So when I'm actually doing it, when I'm actually assigning the controller, when I'm actually assigning the LGs, I'll come back to this architecture and I will show you how this is all integrated. Okay, how it is all integrated. But for now, I cannot go and start showing you all that, like assigning the controller, assigning the LGs, because that will be overwhelming at this point of time. Okay, I'm not going to show it to you, but maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow I'll be creating a scenario. Okay, that's when I'll come back to this architecture diagram and I'll be showing you how this is all related when you are using it, okay. So basically you run the test. Okay, there will be a run button when you create a scenario. Over here you run the test, the request goes to here, and from the controller, okay, the LGs will be assigned. So the LGs will generate the virtual users. So you have given 5 virtual users, so these 5 virtual users will be generated here, and the load will be created on the application and the test, and finally the results will be stored in these LGs, and after the test is done, the results will be sent back to the controller. Okay, and the controller will show these results on your LRE servers, okay, which in terms will show it to you. And then here you will be able to download it. If you want, you can download those results and open in an analyzer and do the further analysis. Okay, okay. So is it clear, guys? Will it use both the DB and file system? Yes, it will use both the DB and file system. Okay, but for what it will use DB, for what it will do the file system, I'm not 100% sure. But if you are really interested, Tasha, I'll do my homework and get back to you. So really wanted to know for which it will use DB and for which it will use file system. Tasha, you really need to know that. Okay, so Roy also asked that question. So tomorrow I'll get back to you on that. Okay, hang on, let me note down that. Okay, DB and file system. Okay, but it will use both of them, obviously. Okay, Nitu has asked, I want to know how to decide how many LGs required to simulate. Nitu, you're asking all the interview questions, nothing related to LRE. Okay, I've created a video on that, Nitu. Okay, so search on my YouTube channel. If you're still not able to figure out that video, get back to me. I will send that video to you. Okay. So server cleanup activity required? Yeah, obviously it is required, but it has a huge database at the backend. So I don't think you really need to do that. Okay. But but at some point of time when all goes away, so you really need to clean it up. Okay. So whatever scheduled test or do any activity is captured in the DB. Yes, Raghu. Okay. So whatever you are saving a test set. Obviously, it is stored in the DB. You have uploaded the script. It is stored in the DB. You have the results. It is stored in the DB. Okay. You delete it. Obviously, it's gone. Okay. So I'll come back with that, what is used by DB and what is used by file system. Okay. Now, okay. So are the questions okay? Then I go further. Yesterday we have discussed that, Madhuri. For my system, I don't know the minimum configuration. Okay, but for my system, I've assigned two systems. One is 32 GB machine. Okay, so both of them are 32 GB machines. Along with that, no, not 32 GB. Yeah, 32 GB machines, and Windows Server 2016 is what I have given to my admin to install it. Okay, but what would be the minimum configuration? That's what I was told. I think 16 GB could be the minimum configuration, but I have given 32 GB machines because I don't want them to be slow. Okay. Okay, but if you're going with the minimum configuration, I think you will have the challenges. Okay, but you really need actually 3 machines, but I have requested my guy to figure out somehow and then use only 2 machines, so he has used 2 machines. Minimum, Madhuri, minimum what you need is 1 machine for LRE, okay, and 1 machine for DB server, and one machine for controller. And on the same machine, the controller itself you can use as an LG. You can use as an LG. So this is machine one. This is machine two. DB server, definitely you need another machine. And machine three, you can put both the controller as well as the LGs. But in the real world, controller will be one machine, LGs will be multiple machines. You might have 10 LGs or 20 LGs, but bare minimum in the real world, you will need four machines. One is for LRE server, one is for DB server, one is for controller, which is LRE host, and the one is for load generator. But if your company cannot afford four machines, you can put both your controller and LG on the same machine. Okay, but that will be little tricky. In my case, he has put both all these LRE server, LRE host, and load generator, everything on one machine. My admin has put, and for the database, he has used another machine. Okay, database, he has used another machine. Okay, so Madhuri, is it clear? Madhuri? Okay, so so yes, in the real world, bare minimum you need three machines. One is for LRE, one is for DB server, and one is for controller as well as load generator. Okay, so but ideally you want LRE one machine, two for database, three for your controller, and four for your LG. And you have multiple LGs, you need multiple machines. Okay, yeah, wonderful. So Kumar sir, what is these things? What are these things? Okay, so you see this LoadRunner Enterprise, you can seamlessly integrate. You can seamlessly integrate with either New Relic or Dynatrace or AppDynamics or Sitescope. Nobody is using Sitescope anymore. Any of you? There are 50 people in the class. Any of you in your company using Sitescope anymore? Sitescope, I've used it 6 years, 5 years back, and after that, nobody is even talking about Sitescope. So there are 49 students. Anybody is using Sitescope anymore? Sitescope is a product of Micro Focus itself. I mean, earlier it was HP. Okay, so no, right? Nobody is using. So, but anyways, it is still there, that product. Okay, so you can integrate with Sitescope, you can integrate with New Relic, Dynatrace, AppDynamics seamlessly with a click of a button. So, Kumar sir, quickly show me that. Okay, later on we will cover this in detail, but let me quickly show you that. No, 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 not that one. Okay, monitors. Okay. Again, you ignore this, brother. Again, we will cover all this in detail. Okay, but I'm just showing you. Okay, you can see, you click on it and you want to integrate with AppDynamics. You just click off a button and you say next. All you have to do is enter the server details of your AppDynamics username and password. And typically there are applications which are there in AppDynamics. You select which application, or you just say get applications. Once you give the server name, username, password, and the port, you click on get applications. It will show you all the applications which are configured in your company for the AppDynamics. Click on that application and just say get counters. It will be able to get the counters. You wanted to do it with, let's say, Dynatrace. Okay, just click on that and click on Dynatrace. Okay, and then click the server and then token and then the host. Okay, and then get host, and then after that I believe it will ask for the username, passwords. You can do it. Okay, so like this you can integrate with all these things, IAS server. If you want to monitor, let's say your one of your server is IAS. Okay, IAS is typically your web app server or web server, or you can be used as an app server. Okay, you wanted to get all the counters from there, you can just click on that. Or Apache, you can use it as a web app server or a web server. Okay, so you want to get the counters of Apache. Okay, you can select any one of them, and CA APM tool is also there. Okay, so if you want to integrate with any of them, okay, so you can click on that. You can click on that and just click on next, and it will ask you all the server details. You can get the server details. Prometheus is usually a Prometheus is Influx DB. I mean, it is also like a Grafana. Okay, so you can get it from there. Okay, so you can integrate with all of them, not just whatever I've said like Dynet, not just what is being showed in this architecture diagram. Where is the architecture diagram? Somebody please unmute yourself. There is noise. Please mute yourself. Sorry. Okay. So not only with these four of them, so you can directly connect to the servers as well and start monitoring them. So that's what they are showing it. over here. And in detail, I don't have any AppDynamics, Dynatrace, or any of that setup, so I don't know if I will be able to really demonstrate that. Okay, but it is pretty simple. You just click on whatever you wanted to integrate, then it will, you give the server details of that or the particular details of that. You can go to the New Relic admin, they will give you all this information. Just feed in that information and click on get counters, it will give you the counters. Please guys, please mute yourself, there is background noise. Okay, so I will have to mute you again. Okay, so so that's what they are showing it here, saying that you will be able to integrate with multiple APM tools, that too just with a click of a button. I don't think these options are available in the latest LoadRunner as well. Okay, so from the VueGen you can connect, or from the controller you can connect, but not this easily. Okay, not this easily. Or you can use the header and you can add that header to Dynatrace. Okay, and it is possible. Okay, or for headers to do that. Okay, for the controller as well. But here, just with the click of a button, you will be able to do it. Okay, so any questions so far, guys? Yes, Ashu, I'll give the access to this LRE, but we are not showcasing the LRE yet. Once we get to that point, I'll talk to my admin team to see, how we have to create a usernames, passwords for you, so that you will not come and mess up the whole installation. I'm little worried about that. So as long as you're not messing up the whole installation, okay. So don't have a problems giving that. So let me figure out a non-admin username passwords and give that to you. Okay, whoever wants to practice. Okay, but are anybody finding it really difficult to understand this architecture? I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, guys. Okay, but prior knowledge of architecture is required to understand whatever I'm saying. Okay, okay, wonderful. Okay, so anybody finding it difficult, guys? There are 49, only one or two people are responding. Okay, please give me some energy, guys. Please just go to the keyboard and just say yes or no. That's it. One button. Okay, all I need is one button. What data will get in monitoring tools, everything, whatever you get it in monitoring, you will be able to get all those counters. Okay, what data will get in monitoring tools, sir? Like AppDynamics, Dynatrace, you can do a thread dump analysis, have a heap dump analysis, GC logs. Okay, there's whole sort of things that you will be able to get, CPU, memory, disk, so many things you can get it. That's a huge thing by itself. That's why people go within, monitoring tools, or APM tools. Okay, so wonderful. Okay, now Kumar sir, it's all good now. It's all good. Okay, now you tell me what is this particular thing. Okay, what is this particular thing, this portion of it, this portion of it. Okay, why they have given, again the load generator is here, load generator is there, application under test is here, application under test is there, why it is repeated. Okay, now the question is, okay, now the thing is, let's say we are talking about a company, like big company like Westpac. Yesterday we have taken this example of Westpac, right? So we are taking, okay, let's say we are talking about these big companies like Westpac. There could be 100 applications. Yesterday we have done, this is an enterprise, this is not even a company, this is an enterprise. Enterprise means it's a very big company. Enterprise means what? A very big company. So in this enterprise company, there are usually multiple applications. Let's say there are 100 applications, 100 applications. Okay, now all those 100 applications need not have to be in the same network, need not have to be in the same network. Let's say the 70 of them are there in one network, 70 of them are there in one network, and 30 of the other applications. Okay, out of these 100 applications, out of 100 applications, 70 applications are there in one network, and the 30 other applications are there in another network. Okay, other network. So obviously there will be a firewall, obviously there will be a firewall. So outside this firewall there are 30 other application, and you are doing a performance testing for one of these application. You are doing the performance testing for one of these application. Okay, then then this is outside the firewall, this is outside the firewall. Okay, so there is another firewall. Outside that firewall there is this application under test that you are saying. or Or let's say out of these 100 applications, 70 are on-premise applications and 30 of them are cloud applications. Cloud means AWS or Azure or Oracle Cloud or Google Cloud or whatever it is. Okay, so they are different network altogether. Once we say cloud application, right, it is a different network. So obviously you need a firewall. So outside that firewall, these 30 applications are there. Of that, you are doing the performance testing of one of these applications. So you understand one thing, guys. Wherever this application under test is there, that's why your LG should be. It should not be outside the firewall. Okay, so if you want to use this LG for this application under test, so it has to go through this firewall and then 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 apply the load on this UAT. This LG will create the virtual user. Let's say it's virtual user 1. This virtual user 1 will send the request, so it has to go through the firewall. That is not a possibility. So that's the reason why. So your LG should be there in the same network of your application under test, which means that this LG is no longer can be used for your application under test. So you install the LG inside that network. So inside that network, so this LG is installed this AUT. Okay, so you have a firewall. Why you have a firewall? Because it is outside the network. Okay, these applications are outside the network, so obviously there is a firewall. So wherever that application under test is there, that there the LG is there. Why? Because this LG can create a virtual user, can apply the load, but it has to go through the firewall, and the firewall, there will be some rules applied. It will be restricting all the requests. In that case, you have to whitelist the virtual users. That will be becoming difficult. That will become difficult. So it is better you install the LG inside that network. So you have installed the LG here. You install the LG for this application or for these 30 applications. This LG is for these 70 applications. Okay, one application is showcased here, and these LGs or one LG or multiple LGs. Here I'm showcasing only one LG, but in the real world you can have multiple LGs as they are showing it here. Okay, so these LGs are for this performance testing of this 30 application or one or two or whatever it is. Okay, so once this firewall comes into picture, okay, so now the LGs has to send the results back to the controller, or the controller needs to send the scripts to LG. So there should be some communication always needs to happen between these two, but there is a firewall which is restricting it. So sending is okay, but while the LG needs to communicate back to the controller, you need something called mi listener to listen over this port called 443. There is a port called 443 with which the LG is communicating with this LRE host. So you need an extra component or a software which is an LRE listener. As the name suggests, it is listening to what? Listening to what LG has to say. Over which port? 443 port. Over which port? 443 port. So it will be continuously listening to these load generators to see if they have to send something, and then it will communicate it back to the controller. It will be communicating back to the controller. Okay, it will be communicating back to the controller. Okay, 1 minute, guys. So I've written so many things. Okay, it will be communicating back to the sorry. Okay, to the controller. Okay, so this mi listener is mandatory. Okay, there is an interview question over here. They will simply ask you if there is an application which is there, okay, behind a firewall, okay, behind a firewall, where is your LG installed? Okay, where is your LG installed? Yes, 443 is the default port, Raghu. Okay, this is an interview question, very important interview question. Okay, if there is have you worked on LRE? Yes. Okay, if there is an application behind a firewall, where is your LGs installed? Can somebody answer? Unmute themselves and answer. Where is your LG installed? Simple question, guys. Somebody unmute and ask answer.
Inside the network.
Inside the network, behind the firewall, where your application under test is there. Wherever your IoT is there, that's where your LG in the same network LG needs to be installed, which is behind the firewall. But the problem is it has to communicate it to LRE host. That doesn't happen automatically since there is a firewall. So you need a MI listener for that. Okay, mi listener for that. It is a simple software which can be installed on your LRE host, which can be installed on your LRE host. Okay, or if you go back to this LRE team, okay, I think the team name is I forgot. Okay, if you go back to their development team, they suggest that you need a separate hardware for that. On that, you need to install this software called MRE listener. But for most of the companies, wherever this LRE host is there, that's where the MI listener can be installed, so that they can save the money on the hardware. But ideally, in an ideal situation, a separate hardware or a separate server is needed, where this software called mi listener needs to be installed. Is it mandatory? Yes, if there is a firewall. Why? Because the load runner needs to communicate with the LRE host. It doesn't happen automatically. There should be some listener listening on the port 443 to what MOFW or LG has to say. Okay, so that's why you need a my listener. You need a my listener. Okay. Any questions? If you don't have a question, I'll ask a question. Any questions, guys? Any questions, guys?
Sir, this MI listener needs to be installed to the
Outside the
controller
firewall.
itself, right?
On the you don't say the controller. I'm using the word controller so that it becomes easy. Use the word LRE host. Okay, it can be, but they don't suggest. LRE people, if you go and ask them, they won't suggest to install on these machines. They ask for a different server on which they will install. But I have seen most of the installations happen on the LRE host itself. Okay,
LRE host mean the LRE. Okay, okay, okay.
the
So this
controller.
MI
In our
listen,
words, it's a control. Yeah.
then this MI listener will bypass the firewall restriction for the LGs, right?
It will listen on the port 443. There should be some listener, so it will be listening to the port 443. It will not bypass. Or if you say you wanted to bypass it, yes, you can use the word bypass as well. Okay, you can see for the connection without firewall, controller needs various load generators without any. But in case of firewall, we need to install some extra component to bypass. You can use the word bypass. Yeah, bypass the firewall. Okay, yeah. But exactly, is it bypassing? To be honest, no. It is listening on the port 443. Okay. Any other questions, guys?
So it is required only when we use the application out of firewall, right?
Firewall, yes. Okay, usually in
Okay.
the real world, some applications will be there for different enterprises on the cloud, some will be there on premises. So whichever there on the cloud, it will be outside the firewall. Whichever there on the on premises, which will be inside the firewall. Okay, I'm just giving you an example. That should not be your thumb on it's not a rule, thumb of a rule or rule. It's not a thumb rule. Okay, but that's how it is. Yes. Somebody asked a question, what is MOW? MOFW, that's what I was about to ask. Monitoring over a firewall. Again, just because you have a firewall, so you need this monitoring over firewall agent. Okay, so that the monitoring happens. Without this, again, there is a problem because there is a firewall. So MOFW, monitoring over firewall. Okay, you need this agent to monitor, to enable the monitoring, or to do the monitoring. Okay, this agent is absolutely required. So this agent is absolutely required. Hang on, guys, 1 second. Okay, so do this one. Okay, so basically, if you have a firewall, you just need a mi listener and MOFW, these two things added extra. Usually the setup and everything, the LRE team takes care of it. Okay, you need not have to worry. Okay, but in the interview they will ask you one question. If it is behind the firewall, where should be your LG, and where are your LRE host? The same question can be asked in the controller as well here. Okay, if it is behind the firewall, where is your LGs? It is behind the firewall only. Okay, wherever the application is there. What is any extra components are required? Yes, mi listener is required and MOFW is required, which is monitoring over firewall. Okay, monitoring over firewall. Okay, so yeah, yeah. Okay, so who will be installing the firewall? Yes, as I've told you, LRE guys, they are supposed to, not only this, the whole setup, they will make it ready and give it to you. Okay, so Krishna, that question that you asked is little tricky. You're saying that 30 applications use the same database. Every application has its own architecture, Krishna. Don't get confused with the architecture of LRE with the architecture of those application. Each application will have its own architecture, will have its own database, will have its own uh, web app server. Here we are talking about the architecture of the LoadRunner enterprise itself. We are talking about the architecture of the LoadRunner enterprise itself. Don't get confused assuming that this database is the database of your AUT. No, the database of the AUT, each AUT will have its own database, own web app servers, own MQ systems, own messaging queuing systems, and own whatever. Okay, logins, authentication servers, and all that. Okay, so guys, I'm running little late for today. Okay, I have to sharply leave at 8:30. Okay, so tomorrow we will get back. There are some questions I'll take tomorrow, but before that, I'll quickly cover this slide and leave for the day. Okay, so. Just let me cover this, okay, and go. So so what are the benefits of LoadRunner Enterprise? I've already talked about it, but just to reiterate these points, I have created this slide. Okay, ability to run multiple tests simultaneously or concurrently, we have already covered. Okay, and share test assets across the process. This is very, very important, guys. Share test assets across the project. Okay, so I'll I'll try to take 5 minutes over here and try to cover these guys. Okay, so there are two people. Krishna is there. Okay, and let's say who else is who else is taking the classes. 1 second. Okay, Tasha is there. Okay, so there's two people. Tasha is there. Okay, now what happened? Krishna has created script one. Okay, Krishna has created script one. Okay, now Tasha wants that script. Tasha wants that script. So what Krishna will do? Okay, generally whether Tasha needs it or not, Krishna what he will do? He will upload this script. He will upload this script to LRE. Okay, irrespective of whether Tasha needs it or not, he has to upload this script to LRE because he needs to run the test with that LRE with this script. Okay, he needs to run the test with that script. Okay, now Tasha, what she can do? She can just go to LRE and download that script. Download that script. Okay, so not only script, runtime, parameter files, scripts, results, whatever it is, everything, .lra file. Somebody said, result files, okay, scripts, okay, what is this, parameter files, okay. So any files are there, any resources, we call this as, we call this as hang on, okay. So we call this as test assets. We call this as test assets. Okay, all these files we can use the word test assets. Okay, so test assets, you sharing of them becomes easy across multiple performance testers. Here we are talking about Krishna and Tasha. In a company there could be hundreds of performance testers, so you cannot keep sharing all these test assets with all these 100 people. They just upload you can have all of them in LRE. So you just all these 100 people can go to the LRE and download, use whatever they want from this LRE, as long as they have access to that particular test, the project. Okay, as long as they have access to that project. Okay, wonderful. Now next thing. Okay, it's a web based, which I've already told you. Okay, so sorry, it's a web based, which I've already told you. Okay, okay, which means that anybody in the team can just bring up the URL and put the username and password, use it. Okay, available 24 by 7. Okay, globally accessible. Some team, let's say in this westpac, okay, somebody is there in Australia. Okay, somebody is there in Australia. Okay, somebody is there in Australia. Somebody is there in India. Somebody is there in India. Somebody is there in maybe US. Okay, so across the world, okay, they can just use this particular LRE just by giving that URL. Okay, okay. And centralized resource management, we just understood it has a centralized database and the web app server and all that. Okay, so we have already seen all this, how to integrate, okay, just now. Okay, CA APM, I don't know if anybody is using CA APM, but back in the day it was little popular. Okay, so AppDynamics, New Relic, and Dynatrace, and we have seen Azure also, Azure Monitor also. Okay, so Azure Insights are very, very popular these days, you're expected to know. Okay, so all this can be integrated, okay, and plugins are there, you can use it. Okay, dynamic provisioning of elastic Dockerized cloud-based load generators. This is what I was telling you in my previous slide. Okay, so I said this LGs, okay, usually load LRE servers and LRE host and the DB servers. These are on-prem services, on-prem servers. Okay, which means that they have to purchase and do it. Okay, people prefer, I'm saying, generally companies prefer on-prem servers for these, but LGs you can have cloud-based servers. Okay, you can have cloud-based servers. Okay, like you can have it on an AWS or Azure or Oracle Cloud and all that. Okay, you can have a Dockerized clouds. Okay, and cloud based. Okay, Dockerized. You can have, like, let's say you need 30 LGs. You need 30 LGs. You just create it on AWS and then do this. Do this, configurations and integrations, and then boom, you can start using all these cloud-based LGs, 20, 30, and all that. Okay, any number of them, and they can be Dockerized as well. And yes, and this can be elastic in nature, which means that, okay, if there is more load or more virtual users needed, so since they are elastic servers, automatically the server configuration increases, so which means that more virtual users can come. So you can have an elastic servers, okay, or you can have multiple servers. Okay, and what and why, the question is, these are on prem, these three are on prem. You said all the companies prefer these three as on prem, not that you cannot do a cloud, but this one, people said people prefer cloud. Why do you think so? Why do you think so? Can somebody answer that? Okay, can you think somebody can do it, can think about it, why generally they prefer cloud for the LGs and on prime for these three? Raghu says cost effective. The answer is yes, but in which way it is cost effective? Scaling. Okay. Okay, so let's say Raghu, okay, or Krishna, okay, and whoever is listening. Okay, um, let's say uh, at this point of time you are doing the performance testing for only two applications. Okay, and you need only 1,000 users, and 1,000 users, two LGs are good enough. Okay, two LGs are good enough, which means that, okay, now you have 30 LGs. Okay, so what you do is, out of this 30 LGs, in the cloud based, you can switch on only two of them, and remaining 28 you can switch it off. Okay, you can switch it off, don't use it. Okay, and only two you can use it. Okay, which means that you never have to purchase, invest money upfront on this LGs. Okay, and you can take the cloud based, which means that you can pay on the need basis, and whatever the cloud, whatever the LGs are required, you switch on only those, and remaining you switch off. And all, do remember that, guys, that these servers needs to be on all the time. One, two, three, this needs to be all the time. Why? Because they are available 24 by 7. They need to be available 24 by 7. Okay, which means that at least these three needs to be on all the time, and you are going for the cloud and you are keeping it on all the time, then it's not cost effective. You'll incur a lot of cost, so it's better you purchase them and use it. Okay, but this LGs, okay, you need not have to be on all the time, depending upon the number of users. Okay, you can switch on only those many LGs, and the remaining you can switch it off, which means that it's better you go for the cloud. Okay, that's why people usually use this for on prime, you take this on prime servers, and this one as cloud based. Okay, cloud based. Okay, so are we okay, guys? Are we okay so far? Okay, and guys, tell me, like, a lot of people left halfway through, so this was too confusing for you, or I'm just trying to understand, or at least you understand 20-30% of the class. Okay, yeah, and I know I missed some questions. Post those questions in the group. Okay, and smart analytics, including memory detection, I've shown you, integrates with other things like ALM, site scope, and UFT. So these are the other products of micro focus, guys. Site scope is one product, UFT is another product, ALM, now ALM, they are calling it as ALM Octane, so you can integrate with them if required, but nobody would do that. Okay, so that's what it is. So with that, I'm closing today's session. Any questions I missed out, just put it on the WhatsApp group. There was one question they have used. So DB and file systems, okay. What is used for what? I'll try to do my research and come back on that. Tomorrow we will open up LRE and start uploading the scripts and start using it, guys. Please don't miss tomorrow's session. Okay. So today's session, even though you didn't understood, it is totally fine. But understand only two questions. Okay. If there is a firewall, extra component is required. Yes. What is that extra component, guys? If there is a firewall, is there an extra component required in LRE or load runner? Okay. What is the answer for that? 100% interview question. Lot of people ask. Okay. Yes. And that is MI. MI listener, not MI. Okay. MI listener. Okay. And if you want to have the monitoring, MOFW is also required. Okay. That is the interview question I ask. And if there is a firewall, where should be your LG? That is also a very important interview question people usually try to ask. Okay. Not in every interview, but some of the interviews. Okay. Anyways, on that note, I'm taking off, guys. I hope you have enjoyed today's session. Some of the people left. I'm feeling so bad about it. I don't know whether I was not doing the good job, or they didn't like it, or all this they didn't understood. I'm not quite sure. Okay. But whoever have stayed back, I hope they understood it, and I tried to explain as much as I could. Okay. I have used LRE, but I don't know much about the LRE architecture, to be honest. Okay. But whatever the knowledge I've gained is through experience and reading certain articles. Okay. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow at the same time, 7:30. Let's change the class timings to 7:30. Okay. Let's see you tomorrow at 7:30. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Nityu. Okay. And thank you, Shirisha, Ashu, Naresh, and other people who Tasha, and then Shahenshah. Okay. Madhusudan, Jayprabha. Thank you so much. Sai, Roy. Okay. Thank you so much. Take care, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Madhuri,
Thank you, Kumar.
Krishna. Yeah.
Thank you.
Jayprada.